Regular viewers may remember that earlier this year I had a short drive in the new SEAT Arona and I was pretty impressed by it. However, more recently I've been able to spend a full week with this car, but is it as good as I remember?
Well, for starters, it's certainly as good looking as I remember. It's based on the Ibiza, meaning you get a very similar design, which is by no means a bad thing, because I think it looks absolutely fantastic. This particular model is finished in mystery blue with a contrasting midnight black roof, and boy does it look good. As I'm not a massive fan of their design, but that's subjective of course. I'm also not a massive fan of the fake exhaust pipes. The real exhaust pipe is actually hidden underneath. I'll tell you what I am a fan of though, and that's the fact that metallic paintwork comes as standard on the Arona.
The inside is a nice place to be. It's not too cluttered and it's got quite a classy finish to it. You get a sporty steering wheel with a flat bottom, more red stitching than you could ever dream of, and you also get smatterings of leather. And yes, it is a nice place in which to sit. Now, what I will say, if I'm going to be super critical, is I would prefer to have more soft touch materials in here, because the dashboard is hard plastic and so are the door cards. So that may sound really picky, but I just think by having that element in the interior would really just top it all off. Anyway, that's enough about styling. About time we go for a drive. The Arona is based on the Ibiza hatchback, so it's got a very good platform on which to start from. In case you want to get technical, that platform is the MQB-A0 platform. Sexy. As you would expect, you get a similar engine lineup to the Ibiza. So, you can either have a 1 litre 3-cylinder turbocharged petrol unit, which kicks out either 95 horsepower or 115 horsepower, a 1.5 litre turbocharged petrol, which offers 4 cylinders, that has 150 horsepower, or you can have a 1.6 litre diesel turbocharged once more with 4 cylinders, and that offers 95 horsepower or 115 horsepower. I do hope you're keeping up with me. So I've got the 1.5 litre engine, which has 150 horsepower as well as 250 newton meters of torque. So what does that mean for performance figures? So you'll hit 62 miles per hour in a very respectable 8.2 seconds and continue to a top speed of 129 miles per hour. Now, the FR has always been, say, a sportier trim, well, apart from Cupra, of course. So you get the sporty styling, and of course you get the 1.5 litre engine I mentioned a few moments ago. This engine is not available in other trim levels. This engine can only be mated to a 6-speed manual gearbox, so if you want a DSG, you will need to look elsewhere. You'll have to look at a different engine. However, the 6-speed manual gearbox is just fine with me because it works very well. The changes are short, they are slick. Yep, it is a good gearbox indeed. And it's quite refreshing to drive an SUV that offers a decent gear change, because it doesn't happen all too often, sadly. It doesn't matter which engine you go for or which gearbox you go for, or indeed which trim level you go for. You can't have four-wheel drive. So if you're looking to buy this car and you want to have that four-wheel drive capability, I'm afraid you can't have it, as this car is front-wheel drive only. This 1.5 litre engine, it offers a good amount of performance. I do really quite like it. There's not much turbo lag. The power starts to come in from just below 2,000 revs. It's quite linear. Yeah, it's a strong engine. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, what if I want to get the FR with the 1 litre engine? Would it be good enough? Well, in all honesty, I think the 1 litre engine would be just fine in the Arona FR. But in all honesty, I would urge you to at least try the 1.5 litre engine, because it really makes sense in this car and it does offer a strong amount of performance. And I hate to say it, but I do think you may regret it if you go for a 1 litre FR. You may not, but I can only speak from my experience and my opinion. This engine also features cylinder deactivation, so when you're cruising like I am now, it shuts down to 2 cylinders instead of 4, which it has done, and this gives you better fuel economy and it makes the engine more efficient. Speaking of which, on a combined run, this engine should offer me 57.6 mpg on a combined run, and in my experience I've been getting around 46, which is okay, it's nothing outstanding. However, if you want more fuel economy, you can of course look at the 1 litre petrol or the 1.6 litre diesel. In regards to CO2, this engine emits 113 grams per kilometre of CO2, meaning for the first year of VED, you'll be required to pay £165.
So it shouldn't cost too much to run, but how much is it to buy?
The FR is one of the mid-range trim levels, starting from a price of £20,165. It offers a good amount of features and should have you well covered because it offers features such as 17-inch alloys, rear privacy glass, two-tone paintwork, LED front and rear lights, 8-inch touchscreen with Bluetooth, DAB radio, smartphone connectivity and navigation, cruise control, dual zone climate control, rear parking sensors, FR sport seats and wireless phone charging.
The Arona is of course available in other trim levels, including SE, SE Technology, SE Technology Luxe, FR Sport, Excellence and Excellence Luxe, which range from £16,905 all the way through to £22,620. So far so good then, but is the Arona an enjoyable car to drive?
Now, quite often when I test SUVs, I moan about their dynamism and the fact that they're not quite as exciting to drive as their hatchback counterparts. The EcoSport, for example, isn't as good to drive as the Fiesta on which it's based on. So how does the Arona do? Well, I have to tell you, the Arona does pretty well because it handles pretty much the same as the Ibiza. A little bit of understeer there, but I was pushing the car quite hard and it is a damp day today. However, let's not take anything away from the Arona. It handles well and it's quite refreshing to have a small SUV that's genuinely exciting to drive. The Arona is just a joy in the corners. The brakes are strong, there's not too much body lean, there's a good amount of grip. The steering has got a good weight to it when you have it in sport mode. Oh, I haven't even mentioned it's got different driving modes. How careless of me. So you've got different sport modes, different driving modes I should say. You've got eco, normal, sport or individual. As you can imagine, I spend most of my time in sport because it really does help to bring this car to life. Now in normal mode, the engine is still pretty responsive, but for me, the steering is too light. I like my steering setup to be on the heavy side, so I like the weight in sport mode. It is quite nice. However, you do of course have individual mode if you want to make your settings a bit more tailor-made. So the ride. This car is on sport suspension, with it being NFR. Therefore, the ride isn't perfect. It can be quite fidgety and quite unsettled, particularly on roads like this where I've got quite a few bumps, quite a few undulations, and the ride is busy, if I'm going to be honest. However, it is a comfortable car, and that may seem like a bit of a paradox, but the damping is pretty good. The seats are really comfortable, they're really supportive. I like the side bolstering, they keep you in place really nicely. Let's talk about refinement. Refinement isn't too bad. I've got 17-inch alloys which do make a little bit of road noise. Wind noise is absolutely fine. So although it's not quite as quiet as a library in here, you should never find yourself having to shout at your passenger to have a conversation or having to crank the stereo all the way up just to hear your favourite tunes. I like the performance, but I would want the engine to make a better noise. It sounds a bit flat and a bit boring, if I'm going to be honest. On the plus side, when you're cruising, the engine is near silent, so it is a refined engine, but I would want a little bit more excitement, a little more fanfare, because it just sounds a little bit dull.
So it also drives well, but does it still offer a good level of practicality? In a word, yes.
The front offers a good amount of space. I've got plenty of headroom, plus shoulder and elbow room is absolutely fine. In regards to getting a good driving position, that's very easy indeed. The steering wheel adjusts for rake and reach like so, and my driver's seat also has a good level of adjustment. But what about cubby holes? Well, cubby holes are pretty good. The door bins are of a good size. I can fit my bottle of drink in there, no problem. I've got plenty of space left over. Also got 2 cup holders in the middle, which again, very handy. 2 slots where you can pop some smaller items. You've also got a slot here where you can put your smartphone, and don't forget, this model has got the wireless phone charging, very handy. And last but not least, you do of course get a glove box, which offers a fair amount of space. So, quite practical in here. So let's talk about rear space. As always, the driver's seat has been set for myself. I'm 6'2", so let's see how I get on in regards to space back here. So as you can see, it's pretty good. I've got a good amount of legroom and knee room, plus I also have a decent amount of headroom as well. So for a taller passenger like me, you'll be absolutely fine here. Now, could you fit 3 adults back here? I don't think so. I think it would be too much of a squeeze, particularly as you do have a large hump in the floor, meaning your middle passenger will have to sit kind of legs akimbo like this. There we are. The middle seat is also quite slim as well. So yes, would I want to have an adult either side of me? No, probably not. So the back is absolutely fine for 2 adults, but if you want to fit children in here, then for 3 children, it should be just fine. Oh, and you've got ISOFIX points as well. Of course you have, it's a family car. But I still feel like it needs to be pointed out. So yes, it's got ISOFIX points. Like the rear, the boot offers a good amount of space because it has a capacity of 400 litres, which is pretty impressive for its class, but it's not quite as impressive as the Citroën C3 Aircross. The boot floor is also adjustable, so if you want to have a shallower floor to make loading bigger, heavier items easier, you can do so. And if you need more space, you can of course fold down the 60/40 rear seats to give you 823 litres. The boot opening is quite nice and wide, it's quite nice and square, and it's very practical. Well done, SEAT.
Is it safe? Again, in a word, yes. Thanks to standard equipment such as 6 airbags, autonomous emergency braking, multi-collision brake and hill hold assist, the Arona was awarded 5 stars from Euro NCAP. Adult occupancy was scored at a very impressive 95%, whilst child occupancy was scored at a respectable 80%. Pedestrian safety was scored at 77%, and safety assist was scored at 60%.
So then, is the SEAT Arona as good as I remember? Yes, it certainly is. I think if you're after a small SUV, you simply have to consider this car. It's good looking, it's good value, it's spacious, it's practical, it offers a good amount of kit, and it drives well, so it ticks plenty of boxes. So yes, if you are after a small SUV, be sure to check this car out. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If so, give it a massive thumbs up. If you are subscribed, don't forget to click that bell icon. And if you aren't subscribed, guys, what are you waiting for? Be sure to subscribe for more car obsession.